The conference room was all glass walls and cold fluorescent light. I sat at the long table, hands folded in my lap, trying to steady my breathing. My boss, Mark Donovan, stood at the head of the room, grinning like a game show host about to reveal a prize. Around me, colleagues shifted uncomfortably in their seats. I already knew what was coming. The rumor mill had been buzzing for days, but hearing it out loud still felt like a punch to the chest. "We're making some exciting changes," Mark began, his voice smooth and rehearsed. "Olivia has done a fantastic job, but we're transitioning her role to bring in fresh energy. Everyone, meet Claire, our new senior coordinator." A young woman with bright eyes and a nervous smile waved from the corner. Polite applause scattered through the room. I forced my lips into something resembling a smile, even as my heart shattered. Mark's eyes met mine for a split second, and I saw it, the smirk, the satisfaction. He wanted me to break right here, right now. But I didn't. I wouldn't give him that. "Before I continue, tell me where you are watching from so I know we are not alone in this, and don't forget to hit the subscribe and like button for more. My name is Olivia, and this is my story." The moment the meeting ended, I bolted. I didn't care how it looked. I pushed through the hallway, past curious stares, and locked myself in the women's bathroom. My breath came in short, jagged bursts. I pressed my back against the cold tile wall and let the tears fall, silent and hot. The door creaked open. I heard heels clicking on the floor. A coworker, Jenna from accounting, paused outside my stall. "Liv," she whispered, "it's not fair, you built this place." I didn't respond. I couldn't. She lingered a moment longer, then left. I wiped my face with the back of my hand and stared at my reflection in the mirror. Red eyes, smudged mascara, but underneath all that pain, something else flickered. A spark, a decision. I whispered to myself, he just made the biggest mistake of his life. 2 years earlier, everything was different. I was the dependable one. The one Mark could count on to fix his messes, smooth over his mistakes, and keep the department running like clockwork. I stayed late. I answered emails at midnight. I covered for him when he forgot meetings or double-booked clients. Back then, he'd lean against my desk with his coffee and say things like, "Olivia, you're the backbone of this department. I don't know what I'd do without you." I believed him. I thought loyalty mattered. I thought hard work would be rewarded. I was so naive. Mark wasn't my ally. He was a ladder climber, and I was just another rung. Everything changed during the quarterly review. Mark's big promotion depended on delivering a flawless report to the board, but the numbers didn't add up. Client data was inconsistent. Revenue projections were inflated. He called me into his office late one Thursday evening. "I need you to adjust these figures," he said casually, sliding a spreadsheet across the desk. I scanned it. My stomach dropped. "Mark, this isn't accurate. We can't present false data." His smile faded. "It's not false, it's optimistic. It's dishonest." The air between us shifted. His jaw tightened. "You're overthinking this, Olivia. Just do what I'm asking." I shook my head. "I can't." That was the moment, the exact second I became his enemy. After that night, everything changed. Mark didn't yell. He didn't fire me. He did something worse. He erased me. My name disappeared from reports I'd written. I was excluded from strategy meetings I used to lead. He forgot to copy me on critical client emails. At first, I thought it was accidental. Then I realized it was intentional. Systematic. He was building a case to get rid of me without looking like the bad guy. But I wasn't stupid. I started keeping records, every email, every report. Every time he took credit for my work, I built a paper trail quietly and carefully. I didn't know what I'd do with it yet, but I knew I'd need it. Then Claire arrived. She walked into the office on a bright Tuesday morning, all enthusiasm and fresh energy. Mark introduced her to the team with that same slick smile. "Claire will be shadowing us for a few weeks, learning the ropes." I knew immediately. She wasn't shadowing, she was replacing. Mark caught my eye across the room and gave me a look that said, "Your time is up." Claire was young, eager, and completely unaware of what she was stepping into. She shook my hand warmly. "I'm so excited to learn from you, Olivia. Mark says you're the best. I smiled. Does he now? Mark made the announcement official the next day. In front of the entire team, he said, Olivia has graciously agreed to train Claire before transitioning to new opportunities. Graciously, as if I had a choice. Everyone clapped politely. I felt their eyes on me full of pity. My hands trembled under the table, but I kept my face neutral. I nodded. I smiled. I played the part. Mark beamed. He thought he'd won. But inside, something cold and sharp was forming. A plan. A way to turn this nightmare into something he'd regret. That night, I sat at my kitchen table, surrounded by files, notebooks, and printed emails. My apartment was quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator. I stared at the mess of evidence in front of me and realized something. I couldn't fight Mark directly. He had power, connections, and the board's ear. If I accused him openly, he'd twist the narrative, make me look bitter, vindictive. But if I trained Claire the right way, if I taught her to ask questions, to verify data, to follow integrity, she could uncover the truth herself. She'd be the one to expose him, not me. It was risky, but it was smart. I smiled for the first time in days. Training began the next morning. I sat Claire down at my desk and walked her through the basics. Client files, reporting systems, approval workflows. She was attentive, taking notes, nodding eagerly. But I didn't just teach her tasks, I taught her principles. Always verify data yourself, I said quietly. Never sign off on something you didn't personally check, even if someone tells you it's fine. She looked up. Why? Because your name is on it, your reputation. She nodded slowly, absorbing it. I could see her processing the weight of that responsibility. Good. That's exactly what I needed. Within a week, Claire started noticing things. Small inconsistencies, missing invoices, reports that didn't match the original source files. She'd come to me with questions, her brow furrowed in confusion. Olivia, this client's payment date doesn't match the deposit. Should I ask Mark? I kept my tone neutral. You should always clarify discrepancies. It's part of due diligence. She did, and Mark's response was sharp. Don't worry about that, he snapped. It's already handled. But Claire wasn't satisfied. I could see the gears turning in her mind. She was learning to trust her instincts, and her instincts were telling her something was wrong. Mark started watching me more closely. I could feel his eyes on me during meetings in the hallway across the office floor. He knew I was too calm, too cooperative. It made him nervous. One afternoon, he cornered me by the printer. You're not trying to confuse Claire, are you? His voice was low, almost a threat. I looked him straight in the eye. No, Mark, I'm just making sure she does things the right way. He didn't like that answer, but he couldn't argue with it. He walked away, jaw tight, shoulders tense. His paranoia was growing, and I was glad. Claire and I spent more time together over the next 2 weeks. She started confiding in me during lunch breaks, asking about office politics, about how to navigate difficult bosses. I kept my answers vague but honest. One day, she said quietly, you don't deserve how he treats you. I paused, fork halfway to my mouth. Just focus on learning, Claire. That's what matters. She nodded, but I could see admiration in her eyes. She respected me, trusted me, and that trust would be the key to everything. Then it happened. An email landed in everyone's inbox on a Wednesday morning. Internal compliance audit all departments. The office exploded into nervous chatter. Audits were rare. They meant scrutiny, questions, accountability. Mark's face went pale. I watched him from across the room as he read the email twice, then a third time. His hands gripped his desk. He was panicking, and I knew why. He'd been falsifying records for months, and now someone was going to check. I made a small mistake on purpose. I forgot to log out of my workstation one evening, left a folder open. A folder filled with financial reports, some clean, some altered. Claire, staying late to review files, noticed. She clicked through, comparing versions. Her face shifted from confusion to concern. She printed copies, highlighted discrepancies. Then, the next morning, she walked into HR. I wasn't there, but I heard about it later. She'd done exactly what I'd hoped. She'd flagged the inconsistencies, innocently, honestly, just trying to make sure everything was correct. The dominoes started falling. Mark called me into his office 2 days later. The door closed behind me with a heavy click. He didn't sit. He stood, arms crossed, eyes hard. "If you're trying to undermine me," he said slowly, "I will make sure you never work in this industry again." I met his gaze without flinching. My voice was calm, steady. "If you're afraid of the truth, Mark, maybe you shouldn't have built your empire on lies." His face flushed red, but he said nothing because he knew I was right. My last day arrived. HR organized a small farewell gathering in the break room. Stale cookies, weak coffee, awkward speeches. Mark handed me a card signed by the team. His smile was fake. His eyes were cold. Claire hugged me tightly. "You've taught me more than you know," she whispered. I squeezed her shoulder. "Be brave, Claire. Always do what's right." I walked out of that building with my box of personal items, my head held high. I didn't look back. The audit team arrived that same afternoon. They requested project files, compliance records, financial reports, everything I had meticulously maintained. But Mark's versions didn't match mine. Dates were changed, figures adjusted, signatures forged. The auditors started asking questions, hard questions. Mark stammered through answers, but the more he talked, the deeper the hole became. Claire pieced it together. Late one night, she cross-referenced every flagged report with the original submissions. Every trail led back to Mark's login, his approval, his signature. She didn't want to believe it at first, but the evidence was undeniable. The next morning, she walked into HR again, this time with a full breakdown. She thought she was protecting the company. She had no idea she was executing my plan perfectly. Mark was summoned. I wasn't there, but I heard every detail. He tried to blame me, said I mishandled data, that I was disgruntled, bitter. But HR had the timestamps, the login records, the original files, all clean, all accurate, all tied to his edits. He realized, too late, that he was trapped. Word spread fast. Clients were notified. The board launched an investigation. Mark's promotion was revoked. Claire, shaken but resolute, gave a full statement. She only wanted to do the right thing. She had no idea how perfectly she'd played her part. I received an email from an old client. "We heard what happened at your company. We've been looking for someone with your expertise. Interested." I stared at the screen, hands trembling. Not from fear, from relief, from victory. I replied, "Let's talk." Mark was escorted out of the building on a Friday afternoon. Security walked him to the door. The entire office watched in silence. No one clapped. No one smiled. The man who humiliated me was now the one being humiliated. Poetic, clean, inevitable. I started my new role the following Monday. Higher pay, genuine respect, a team that valued integrity. I trained them the way I wished I'd been trained, with honesty, patience, and care. My composure radiated quiet strength, and for the first time in years, I felt at peace. Claire reached out via LinkedIn a few weeks later. "I don't know what to say except, thank you. You taught me to trust my instincts." I replied simply, "Always do what's right, even when no one's watching." No bitterness, no anger, just peace. I sit by my new office window now, watching the sunrise paint the city gold. My coffee is warm in my hands. My heart is calm. Sometimes revenge isn't fire. It's light. You don't have to burn them down. You just expose what they've been hiding and let the truth do the rest. I didn't destroy Mark. I simply gave him enough rope, and he hanged himself. That's the kind of victory that lasts. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this. Your support means everything. See you in the next one.